and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on when those sirens are gone.
All right, welcome to Making a Difference Wednesday here in the Fishbowl on the Mad Radio Show with John and Sam. We are broadcasting you live from Globe Life Park, the heart of the entertainment district here in Arlington, Texas, man. It is August 5th, and we are still in a lockdown. Oh, my God. But we are going to try to make your day better, and we are going to try to heal our heroes. Sam, welcome. How's your day going?
My day is busy as all get out. You know, it's been a busy time for you and I both, just trying to cover all the Back to Blue events all over Texas, and
Yes.
It's so nice to see. Just starting to see even a turn on social media. The wave, there's still some ridiculous stuff out there, and but to see the media starting to turn and starting to
A little
cover
bit,
the positive,
little bit. I hope so. I hope
on
so.
any given day, right?
Yeah, it depends on what day it is, and that's what we need. We need a positive boost of morale for our first responders, or we're gonna have some big issues.
I think we just lost our video.
Did we?
I think.
It looks like that,
Yeah.
but he'll get it back. Nobody wants to see this ugly mug of mine anyway. But
Actually, haircut.
me and you shared something this week that was very good, and I'm going to give a shout out. One, I want to congratulate your husband Steve on his victory on the powerlifting event.
Oh my gosh!
God bless him, man.
It was yep. So my hubs turned 60, and to celebrate, there wasn't. We're under the lockdown, so no parties, no nothing. He decided to go do a powerlifting tournament, which was put on by USPA, the U.S. Powerlifting Association. We went out to Midlothian, big gym, could fit everybody, and he set 3 national records.
Wow.
What a way to ring 60. I'm like, I
know.
got out of bed this morning.
I know, right? I celebrated Tara's birthday this
Great.
weekend. Happy birthday, hon.
Happy birthday,
and Tara. Both our spouses had birthdays, and Steve accomplished such a great feat. Now, me and Tara were watching the weightlifting competition that you guys shared on Facebook. The deadlift.
Deadlift.
The deadlift was that 460 pounds or something? It was in kilograms, right?
It was like I don't know, 4 refrigerators or something like that.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You know what? So then so when you ask him to do something around the house, there's no oh, honey, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And kudos to you, Steve. You did that with a torn hamstring.
Just a tweak.
Just a tweak.
Yeah,
yeah.
You can't. No, you won't be able to do that.
You're not giving any compassion at all to him.
Yeah. No. He just tweaked it because he mixes up the training. It's very specific training.
Right.
I mean, really specific. He has logs, and he keeps it on the computer, on his phone, I see pieces of paper all over the place, notebooks, and it is like super drilled down day to day, hour to hour, especially the week leading up, hour to hour.
Right,
and
right.
I guess we just don't want a floating head. That's what we're having camera adjustments. And so, It just was a little pull, nothing big.
Well, that's
and,
it was
he
a
able to get
wonderful
through it.
accomplishment, man. I saw him do that, and I was so impressed with his weightlifting
is pretty
skills, man.
amazing.
I was a little crazy. But because we run out of time, and we could talk for hours, me and you. We run out of time too quick. But what I want to play this clip for an amazing guest that we got coming up, and I'm going to let you introduce him. I'm going to let you give the credits because this is really wonderful. But first off, I want to play this clip. If you can cue that up, it's the promo trailer.
Yes, sir.
All right. When we talk, this is all about healing our heroes, and we talk about doing right by our first responders. I watched this clip again in my car, sitting here in the studio before I came in, and I watched it again. And I tell you, I must be getting friggin' emotional in my old age. But just the trailer started making me tear up.
I had the same every time I watch it because I really wanted to be super just prepared, and I feel it.
Yeah.
I feel it because you and I have both been there, and it brings up a lot.
Just in the trailer, he has captured the essence and the emotion and the feeling. So if you could play that clip real quick.
After working for 20 plus years as a police officer, not having backup is kind of scary. While I was trying to heal from the trauma,
No, it won't play audio. We'll play audio
put
over.
me
It
in the
won't play
position
audio
that I
there.
was in.
Just waiting for the clip to
I
play.
suddenly lost
But,
all the support of all the guys I worked
Is it
with.
because we have two camera angles?
I don't know. It should play in a second. It's probably just a time delay.
Just because we
There
don't
we go.
see it
It's
doesn't
playing?
mean
There
that
you go.
we don't picture it in our head. I never thought that I would have to deal with that type of call, and I was not prepared.
I remember the moment I was like, okay, I was up all night. It was just trauma after trauma after trauma. The novelty of the job wore off really quick.
They didn't offer any help. They said I needed to see a psychiatrist, that there was probably nothing wrong with me, that I was just being a baby about it.
I couldn't think of how to get help without ruining my job.
I know personally, on many occasions, that a police officer could go in and ask for help, and the chief would fire him.
They forced me to resign because they just could not understand how that could have affected me since I was just a dispatcher.
I just thought to myself, if I can't do this job, what can I do? What else? I put all the eggs in this basket. Who am I if I'm not a firefighter?
I have, 4 years till retirement, and I gotta be okay, and I gotta make it.
All right, man. That was that's an amazing clip, and I can't wait till he calls in, and I got to ask him about this because this is so impactful and means so much to so many of us out there in the first responder community, because we see the resources that are out there, we see the treatments and the therapy sessions that are out there, but we sometimes forget the real impact it has on the person.
Right, the emotions behind it, and he captures it really well just in the trailer that we just played. Because you're right, all of the emotion that I'll say we share is sitting on a couch in someone's office, getting professional help, and that's. I think this is the first time, other than reading, in books,
right,
that it really is. It sets the tone, but you're going to be brought into a world that it's not going to be easy to watch, but it's important to watch.
It's reality.
And understand. Yeah, it's real.
It's reality. And, when you hear some of the people that he's interviewed, and I can't wait till this whole thing comes out because I want to watch it, the struggles that they're bearing, and they still have to be working and being on the job and continue their daily life with all this pain that's inside them. And that is just heartbreaking that one of the 9/11 dispatchers that he interviewed said, she was going to get fired because she brought her issues up to her commanding officer.
Yeah,
and
it's like we do our jobs from a place of service that is so deep, and when we've been injured and we don't have an outlet, we would hope that our home, our precinct, our office, whatever it is, would have our back.
Right.
And there's still that big question mark, and we hear it every day. Some have wonderful places that they work, like, the Tarrant County Sheriff
Right.
Rayborn. You work for him, you're covered.
Yeah.
And just what you said, not so in New York. It's tough. And should I introduce our guests? Like, read his bio before he calls in, so we don't waste like 1 second.
Yeah. Of course.
So, those of you who watch the trailer, our guest today, his name is Conrad Weaver. He's a director, producer, and an award-winning filmmaker. He owns Conjo Studios, which is a video production company based in Maryland, my old camping grounds.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He's actually completed 3 feature-length documentaries already. Heroine's Grip, which, powerful.
Did you watch that?
I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched the trailer for it.
I started looking at it YouTube today, and I want to check it out. I want to watch the whole documentary.
Yes, huge. Thirsty Land, also very interesting. Great American Wheat Harvest. I had no idea that this kind of stuff went on in the U.S. Wonderful. And that actually received an Emmy.
Oh, the Great American Wheat Harvest?
And Conrad has also completed several short documentary films, including his most recent one, Bluebirds of Antietam. Who doesn't love the bluebird? I love the bluebirds. We have them here in Texas. They're awesome. That's a really fun short film. And you can check out all of his films, which are available to stream on Amazon Prime Video. So, you just go on, grab it. And so he is a member of the International Documentary Association, the Documentary Producers Alliance, and the Television and Internet Video Association of Washington, D.C. He recently volunteers as a global outreach country coordinator for Ukraine from his church in Maryland. Wow. Yeah, and he in his spare time, he enjoys going on adventures with his wife, Jody. That's where the Conjo Studios come from.
Right.
And he loves photography, skiing, sailing, and traveling. And it shows, especially, his photography. I mean, everything about each trailer that you watch, and like I said, went in, watched Heroine's Grip, Thirsty Land, all of them. He's got the eye. I mean, these films are all powerful, and they're filled with information that was like, really?
Factual.
Yeah.
Factual. And that's the difference between making a documentary and making a movie. Because, a movie, you got the editing, you can do a whole bunch of things. With a documentary, man, you want your facts straight, you want everything, and like you just said, you have to have the eye to capture the emotion in whatever you're documenting. And with the 9/11 PTSD and 9/11 movie that he's putting together, just in a 2-minute episode, he caught me to a point where I'm drawn, and I have to see the rest of this story and how this plays out.
Absolutely.
Is he calling in? What time?
Right now.
Oh.
Right now.
Oh.
So.
Well, hopefully he'll be calling in. Maybe he's on Maryland time.
Yes, I told him it would be 7:15 Eastern. So that would be.
You gave him 214-556-6239.
Yes, I did, but I can text him, and
Or we can call him out on here.
yeah, let's go. He says I'm ready on Skype, so let's call him.
All right, so can you give him a call?
Here's
Okay,
his
have the number yet.
Skype.
You know, well, Sam's
Conrad, we're
giving out
calling you,
giving
yeah.
out Conrad's number. You know, we had. Oh, there we go. That was quick.
Yeah, and we'll make sure we'll get it on video.
This is Conrad.
Conrad, it is Sam from Mad Radio here with John. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing excellent.
How you doing,
Conrad? Yeah, so let's turn it up a little. And we're going to get you on
video in a
get him on
second.
video here. That will,
Okay.
as soon as you pull him up.
Yeah, I'm all set up on Skype.
Okay,
That's-
beautiful.
Yeah.
We,
I wasn't
we,
sure what your handle was, what I should be looking for.
No worries. We have about a 10-second delay, so just stand by. And can you lighten
Okay.
can you make this lighter? Because the back is making me look like a shadow.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Wait, I'm wearing a baseball cap and a black shirt, so somebody like, you look like Shadow. Where John is
so
all.
I'm all bright and
So
weary.
Can
So-
we get him up on video?
It's not showing available yet.
So Conrad,
Well, we're working on the video here. First of all, thank you so much for being a part of the
sure.
show. We played the trailer, so everybody who's watching could see it.
Awesome. Awesome.
I read your bio and informed everybody about the amazing other work that pieces of work that you did that John and I have been in.
Oh, thank
and
you.
watched.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, to really set the tone, because both John and I spoke about how PTSD 911, when we watched the trailer, it just immediately took us back. We connected with the emotion, of course, with everybody that you had featured.
Yeah.
And how
Right.
moving.
I tell you, Conrad,
Right.
I was watching a little bit of it in the car here at the studio before I came up, and you know, I emotionally broke down a little bit, you know, and it just from the trailer. And I was telling Sam, I said, "Man, you captured you captured the essence, the feelings, everything inside that." I was tearing up in my car just watching the little bit that you did. It was wonderful.
It makes it easy when you have good subjects that can speak to their issues. So that's what I like doing, is capturing those amazing stories, you know, from people that are willing to talk, and it always makes my job easier.
Well, let me ask something. How hard was it for you as now you're not a first responder, right?
No, I'm not.
So how hard was it for you to do this, and like what did you feel? What did you feel when you heard these stories and heard their testimonies?
Well, I was certainly moved. I mean, you know, my experience, you know, where this came from was really from doing ride-alongs with our local, you know, police department, and then experiencing fatal overdoses, you know, rolling up on a fatal overdose in the middle of that chaos and realizing, oh my goodness, these first responders see this every day and things a lot worse. And so my heart went out to them, and it's like, you know, I've got to tell this story.
Wow. Yeah. That's you know, it's not every day that I'll say civilian can be with a troop, you know, whether it's local PD, state troopers, and be exposed to that, because that, again, I'll say it, that brings you into our world. And
right.
I'm sorry that you had to see that, but I think it allowed you to, you know, even bring out more and really hone in on, well, gee, you know, this is how I felt when I saw an overdose, and this is what I want the viewer to understand, like bringing them right in. You know, let me just ask you, you know, why are you producing this film, and, you know, like, why now?
Yeah, so, you know, well, there's no better time than now. I mean, with everything that's going on in our world and the situation, you know, the negativity toward law enforcement, especially, you know, and when you have 228 members of law enforcement who die by suicide in 1 year, something's got to be done to change that. And so, this is what I'm hoping to do is change the conversation, start the conversation with the general public, get all of us civilians to understand this, and to raise the support that we need for our first responders, so that whether we need to go to our legislators or our local authorities to say, hey, we need to allocate more resources toward our first responders to get them the help they need. And then, I want to be able to for that first responder who's watching to say, you know what, I need to raise my hand and ask for help. And hopefully through that we can save lives. We can make a difference in the lives and families of our first responder families. And the last thing is really my focus is to help the leaders of agencies to see what changes need to be made on an agency level, and the protocols and systems need to change so that first responders get the help they need. They're not fired the first time that the term PTSD comes rolling around.
Well, Conrad, did it change your perception on law enforcement and first responders from, did it change your perception in a way of post-traumatic stress of how you knew it or what you thought about it?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, I've certainly learned so much about what post-traumatic stress is, and I always knew about it. I knew about it more from hearing stories of returning veterans coming back from war.
Right.
And on that level, where that trauma is unbelievable. You can't imagine, what that is like. And I've never been there, and so I really can't imagine. But to know that our members of law enforcement, our first responders, when they roll up on a scene, whether it's a car crash or a fire, or they're in a firefight, as a police officer, or they're, that kind of stress that's almost daily for many of these folks is compounded, from years of work, and it builds up, and that's why many people go into, self-medicating. And when there's not that support system around them, and that system that says it's okay to raise your hand and say, I'm not okay. When you don't have that, then it can go dark in a really quick amount of time.
Absolutely. I want to, we had a little tech mix up here because John and I want you on camera. So we're going to disconnect for one quick second, and we're going to get you back on your Skype name, and the camera should work.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So just give us
Great.
Give
us 1 second. We'll call you right back.
So go ahead and disconnect.
Okay, sure.
And why he's doing this, he said just, let's see if it works, just to be able to understand how, if the first responder can't get or doesn't get, how dark it goes real fast.
Yeah. And he also hit on another key point that I know me and you always look at.
We're good?
Just gotta get him on. Okay.
Yep. Is he there?
Go ahead.
Nope. When I asked him about change of perception in PTSD, and he said he looked at post-traumatic stress disorder or injury more as a veteran or military. And I think that's a key issue with what's happening across our nation, is that a lot of people associate the post-traumatic stress with our military, and they're not viewing it as one of the number one killers and contributors to suicide in our first responder communities.
Yes, if you're listening and you didn't already know that suicide, more first responders die by suicide than they do in the line of duty, and that number is going up every year. We're already over 100.
Right.
And we have got Conrad.
Welcome back, Conrad.
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Very clear.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Conrad, me and Sam were talking about while we were reconnecting this your Skype was, the perception of post-traumatic stress throughout our nation. We look at it more as a military disorder and not so much a first responder disorder. And I think I think with this documentary, you are going to bring this more to light, and I think this will really help our nation learn the pain that our first responders are feeling, and you had a true story, and a true sacrifice,
and that's exactly why I wanted to make this film, because when I was doing my research, I found a lot of films about returning veterans, which is a very important topic, very important issue. I mean, 22 veterans a day die by suicide, which is just terrible. But there is hardly anything done for our first responders in our country. There's a few news stories here and there, but nothing major. So that's why I want to really do a deep dive into this, into 4 different agency types to tell their stories. So fire, police, EMS, and dispatch. And those 4 agencies we're working with to tell their stories and to let the public know that this is an issue, and we need to raise support for these individuals, these people who are human beings just like you and me.
Right.
They have emotions and feelings, and when I rolled up on that scene on an overdose, a fatal overdose, and I walked into that house with those police officers and those medics, and there was a body laying there, and the family going through their terrible turmoil. It was shocking to me as a civilian, as someone who doesn't see this every day. And our law enforcement, our first responders, they see those types of things every single day, and way worse. Human beings can do incredibly difficult, ugly things to each other. And our first responders, when I pick up the phone to call 911, they respond. No matter what the situation, they respond. And whether it's a gruesome, murder, or whether it's an accident, or whether it's a shooting, they respond, and they have to deal with all the stuff that happens around a scene like that, and then they carry that home. And yep. And when I call 911, I pray that someone healthy answers the phone and someone healthy shows up to my emergency. And many times that doesn't happen. Many times they're not healthy. And in not all states, but in Texas they have, right? But in some states they're still not considered as a first responder. They're working through that in California and some other places, and so that was vital for me because they are the first responders. They're the first responders, and we've connected with some amazing people. One of them is Dr. Michelle Lilly, who has done the premier research on trauma and PTSD in the first responder in the 911 community. And, when I talk with her, she says that, when you hear something and you don't see it, your brain creates that picture. Your brain creates that scene. And so it can be way worse than what it actually is. It can be, maybe better than what it actually is. But your brain does that, and your brain doesn't know what's real and what's not. And so these dispatchers who hear these calls, they take that home with them as well. And unless they, are able to have some peer support and have people around them to help them and to be able to talk about it, then that can lead to problems down the road. Right.
I get that closure because I see the scene, I look at it, I evaluate it, and I can walk away from it. I go to the next one. An operator gets hung up on.
Right.
You know, it's like a wife going, "Oh, I'm at a motel." Click, and all of a sudden you're going, "Well, did your car break down,
and
or
then
you
the
with somebody
phone
else?"
rings again.
Your mind goes
And then the
worse.
phone rings again, and they're taking care of the next call immediately.
Yeah.
Especially in larger metropolitan areas, they're getting calls all the time. And so they're dealing with this terrible murder scene here. And the next thing is some guy complaining about his neighbor, his dog's barking or something. So it's like
It's a roller coaster.
they go from one thing to the next, and they don't get a break.
And it's the double-edged sword that we play here, because the work and the multiple calls keep us going. Okay, because we don't have time to process what just happened.
Right.
Even if you're the officer that is at responding, you're at a scene of whatever, and then you get called and you got to go to the next one. EMS, everybody. So that's what keeps us going through our shifts. And it's what happens when we get off shift, and that is when the unraveling. Really
interesting
begins.
story. Just the other week, my wife and I were traveling. We were coming into Florida, and it was raining. We were driving at a pretty high rate of speed with traffic, and this motorcycle comes flying by us. And my wife said, "Oh my goodness, he's going to have an accident." And 2 seconds later, he wiggled and bodies went flying.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
And so, we immediately pulled over and stopped traffic and helped them up. They were injured, but they were able to walk. But my wife said for several nights following, all she could see when she closes her eyes were these bodies flying through the air. And so if you can imagine a firefighter, a law enforcement officer, a medic, a dispatcher who experiences these traumas, and they take that home.
Yep.
They relive that scene. Maybe it's a law enforcement officer who says, maybe I could have done something different. Maybe I should have done this, that maybe that wouldn't have happened. And so they replay these scenes over and over again. And that, I'm sure, begins to eat away at their, at their job, at everything, at their life.
Well, what you just said brings to the top a very valid point where, everybody handles stress differently because everybody's an individual. So like you just said, your wife saw bodies flying for the next 4 days or 3 days in her dreams, right? But somebody else may not have been affected that bad. They may have said, "Oh, they weren't hurt that bad," and disregarded it and just and went on with it. But that affected your wife in a way that she's never been affected before. So that's why PTSD is so complex in its treatments and its diagnosis that we don't know. We're just scratching the surface on mental health within our first responders, because what you see as tragic, my brain may just blow off, or we may see the same exact incident, and it may affect me a lot more than it affects you.
Absolutely. And I think that's where you need that peer support, those people around you who you can talk to freely. And I think that's oftentimes what's missing in agencies today, whether it's fire, police, any of these agencies. In many places, it's missing, where you're not free to talk about these things. And if you do, if you come up and say, "Well, I'm having a little trouble sleeping because of, what happened the other night," some places they might say, "Well, get over it," right?
Yeah.
Or here, have a beer.
Or
It'll
suck
get
it
better.
up, yeah.
Yeah, and that needs to go away. We need to have the ability to share, our deep, dark things without having the threat of someone making fun of us, or the threat of someone or the boss firing us. And that's what's happening around the country in many agencies, where you get diagnosed with PTSD, and the next thing you know, you're shown the back door.
Yeah, well, certainly you're in a fitness for duty status, and I'd say that if there's anybody listening that's outside of Texas, make some phone calls to some of the departments here to help you get set up, because the Texas departments, I couldn't be more proud of what a lot of them are doing. They're taking it very seriously. They've got a lot of peer support. set up, and that goes across the board. The dispatchers, we still got to do more work, but police and fire. And so when you're in a department that is not supportive, and Conrad, like you said, you need the outlet. So what do we have? What do we still have?
Right.
We've got our dark humor,
right?
Which I could think of a million jokes for the accident that you just talked about with the motorcycle folks.
Sure.
But we also have, we've heard it before, called choir practice. That's after shift.
And I went back to what he just said. He said, "Let's grab a beer,"
drink, right?
Which is not the answer.
That's where, that's where it's so complicated in so many terms, because you're like, all right, I can't speak here, but I can speak here, but only if I consume alcohol. And then people will listen, we joke, and I have let off enough steam, and oh, by the way, I'm also numb, so I can now go home and go to sleep. We all know how alcohol, we all know how alcohol plays with us, and when I was at the height of my post-traumatic stress, the only way I could sleep was the bottom of several bottles of whatever, and it doesn't get better, it gets worse, and then you find yourself needing, I'll call it, somebody's couch, or the confidence of a friend or a peer support mentor, and that really is the only way out, because as a first responder, you can't do your job over. It's going to come. You're going to be found out eventually. And there are folks that have, lost their positions because of alcoholism.
Yeah, it's any addiction. It's any it's those outlets that screw you up. But Conrad, when you were doing this documentary, did you have any chance, or did anybody even want to answer you on that? Did you ask any of the department heads, because it starts at management, on the peer support, or look into any programs that some of these departments that you did this documentary on, if they were...
Just to clarify, so the film is not made. We only shot enough to produce that little trailer that you saw.
Okay, all right.
So we're actually raising money to make the film. So, but we've talked to people and agencies all across the country. We've worked with major national organizations, including the Concerns of Police Survivors, the national several of fire agencies, the NENA, which is the National Emergency Number Association, and other agencies like that, organizations, to bring together a coalition of support and knowledge so that we can tell this story. And so we're currently looking for subjects. We've got one police officer who you saw in the trailer. She's all in, willing to tell her story. And I have yet to reach out to her agency head, which we hope to do at some point. But we want to tell the story from these 4 agencies, and hopefully 4 individuals, to kind of follow their progress through their struggle. Right. And hopefully they'll have a good ending to this. But what we also want to do is we want to bring hope. We want to bring and showcase those case studies and those agencies who are doing it right, who are doing right by their officers, doing right by their dispatchers and their firefighters and their EMTs. We want to showcase those organizations that are making a difference, so that when a first responder watches this film, they can say, you know what, I think I need to raise my hand and ask for help. Or if a department head, if a commander sees the film, they might say, you know what, I think we need to make some changes in our agency. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing I want this film to do, is to bring hope to those who are caught in their struggle, and to bring change to agencies that aren't doing it right, and that are showing officers the back door, or just not doing anything for their people who are suffering. And then the final thing I really want to do is to raise awareness to the public, so that we can raise this coalition of support for our first responders. And like I said, so to motivate people to go to their legislators, to go to their city leaders, to say, hey, how much money is being spent for our fire and EMS services, for our dispatchers, for our police officers? How much money is being spent for their mental well-being, for their mental health? And that's what needs to be done, because these people take care of us. They respond to our emergencies. They keep our community safe and healthy. And if they're not healthy, then our communities are going to be broken down. And so that's my mission, is to do those three things.
Yeah, that's wow. You know, Conrad, you just echoed. John and I had the opportunity to cover a Back the Blue event up here in Frisco, Texas, and the police chief addressed the crowd when we were finished with the parade, and he said, you know, backing the blue means backing the community. If blue is healthy, your community is healthy.
There you go.
Absolutely.
And it's so true. And I know that you have the backing here of Blue Help. That
Yes, Karen Solomon is wonderful.
Yep, we're very close with them. And hey, the door here in Texas is open, my friend. It sounds like you might need to come
take a
down
travel out here.
We can hook you up with some incredible organizations, as well as the first responders that are making those departments making a difference.
Yeah. On that, there are two departments here that me and Sam personally know of that have really taken, because it's starting at the management, and that's Sheriff Bill Wayburn over at Tarrant County Sheriff's Department, and Assistant Chief Christina Martinez over in Grand Prairie.
Three, and then Collin County.
Oh, then Collin County.
Yep.
Yeah, that have taken the mental health and the post-traumatic stress to probably a higher level than most in the state of Texas. They are really paving the way for more departments to jump on board. It's a culture change. And
it is a culture change.
That's what we need to do.
And I think what city managers who often manage budgets need to understand, it's much less expensive to keep officers and first responders healthy than it is to hire new ones.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have first responders leaving because they're not healthy, or they're spending money, workman's comp, payouts because they're not healthy, it's much cheaper to keep them healthy and to keep them working.
But what do you think is going to happen now with the current narrative throughout our nation now with defunding our police departments? I think that budget item of mental health is going to be the first one to go.
Right, and it's going to make things worse, because the reason you have things on the evening news is because oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, because an officer, a first responder, perhaps is not healthy, and they're making choices and decisions in their stress that they maybe wouldn't make if they were healthy, and it ends up on the evening news.
True.
And so we're going to see more of that. If there's less money to provide healthcare services, support services for our law enforcement agencies, for our first responder agencies, then we're going to see more of what happened. And it's not going to get any better. 228 law enforcement officers died by suicide last year. That number is going to go up if we don't do something to help.
We have 101
our
so
agencies.
far this year.
Yeah, 101 so far. So let's talk about, because we got to get this movie made for sure. How can people support? How do we show our support for your film?
Well, right now we are in the middle of a crowdfunding campaign, if I can get the words out, on Indiegogo. If they go to our Facebook page, which is PTSD 911 Movie, they can go to the Facebook page and get a link right to the Indiegogo account there. And one of the ways that people can support on our crowdfunding campaign, if you have a first responder that you'd like to honor, it's a $100 buy-in for that. You submit $100 in, and you get to have your name in honor of your first responder and their name in the credits. And so it's a great way to not only support the film, but it's a great way to support and honor those first responders. And there's all kinds of other perks on there that people can donate. People can give as little as $10. You can give as much as $5,000. And I'll even take more. Our budget is around $600,000 for this film. And so it is a major effort to raise the money. We're also looking for foundation money and grants to help underwrite this film. But to start with, we kicked off this Indiegogo account for raising money, and so we would encourage people to go there and to donate often, share it with everybody that you know, get the whole world involved in supporting this project so that we can make this film. And I just want to say that for every dollar is raised on our Indiegogo campaign, we are committed to giving 10% back to organizations that help first responders. Wow. And so not only does your money go to help make the film, but it's also going directly to those organizations like Blue Help and others who are helping our first responder communities.
Looking at this film, just the trailer part of it, I could see this being played in an academy class.
Yes.
As something to watch to show, hey, there is help out there. I don't want to become that person.
Yeah,
I want part of an
educational
educational program.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely one of our goals. So we have a multi-level of distribution channels that we're looking at. We hope to get a national distribution in theaters. We feel that this is the film that the public needs to see, and there's first responder communities in every city, and so there's theaters in almost every city, and so we hope to bring it nationwide in theaters. But then once it gets out of theaters and gets through the online channels like Amazon and others, we want to create an educational packet that can go to our first responder community so they can use this as a tool for teaching in their cadets, in their training programs as they're working with new first responders. And that's really one of our goals, is to provide that educational resource for these organizations.
Well, that is awesome. I think this is a perfect place
to
wrap and make sure that people check it out. I mean, John and we can't thank you enough for taking the time. We know you're so busy.
We're 100% behind you. Our show is behind you. Mad Radio is behind you.
We'll make sure to put it out there. We'll put the trailer on the Facebook page and
well, I really appreciate
links.
it. And the Indiegogo campaign ends in 9 days, so time is of the essence.
We will push it. We will push it.
Yep.
And so if you can get it out there, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been great to talk to you guys. And I'm coming to Texas later this year because my daughter lives in Waco. So
it's not far from us.
Just stop by.
Absolutely.
Yes, we'll have you on the show. We'll have you come on into the show.
I'd love it.
Excellent.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Conrad, again. And so, folks, if you've been listening, go to Facebook, PTSD 911 movie. And got 9 days before the crowdfunding.
And remember that $100, donating $100, and you can support a first responder hero. Their name will be placed in the credits, which I think is a wonderful idea. And I think I'm going to do that myself as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, we got a lot of people we can honor.
Yes. So I'll be donating.
So
thank you.
Thank you, Conrad.
Thank you. So talk about support. I mean, we're going to put all of that out there, and folks, I know you've probably seen me pointing in different directions, and we've got Duke working the board today, walking around, making sure lighting, cameras, everything is working. And so we can't do this without your support out there. And there's several ways to support. And, we've got John put together a wonderful YouTube page. You can find us on YouTube at Mad Radio Texas. That's Mad Radio Texas. That didn't come out right. Make some words there. So, please hit the subscribe button. We are uploading all the episodes, the prior episodes. In 200 is the magic number for YouTube subscriptions, where we can actually do more with YouTube. So get on YouTube and subscribe if you want. And if you want to support us monetarily, you can go to abadgeofhonor.com and click on Mad Radio. It's right at the top of the page there, and there's a little donate button.
There you go. $5, $10, whatever you can afford. 50 cents, yeah.
Yeah.
No change. Round it up to $1.
There you go. And then, two unique ways that we didn't talk about last week to support. You can go on to the Mad Radio Facebook page, and if you want, you can purchase my book.
Yeah, that's right.
It's, The Silent Fall. I wrote a book all about my post-traumatic stress injury journey. So the good, the bad, the ugly. And it ends with all good, so because I'm sitting here right now.
You're sitting here.
And so that's a way to show support. Or I've been told this is the most unique way. Like, nobody else is doing this. It's crazy out there, folks. Had a father stop. John, you and I, we did an interview out at the Frisco Backs the Blue event, and he was talking about the fact that, if defunding happens, what are citizens supposed to do? Because they depend on 911, and now he feels the pressure to protect his family. Okay, that's what 911 is for. So if you want to support the show in a very unique way and you are interested in getting your Texas license to carry,
gun sales are through the roof.
I know. I have tons of people. I'm doing lessons. Like my calendar is booked for lessons. You can get your Texas license to carry. I have been an instructor since 2014, and I put the Texas license to carry online. So you can do the classroom portion of it online. Then you'll schedule your shooting proficiency afterwards, and you can visit carryintexas.com and type in coupon code Mad Radio, so we can track your support there. So
there you go.
It is John. You and I have talked about it. Tara, everybody's talking about. I have to do what I have to do to protect my family, and getting your Texas license to carry is a perfect way to do that.
Yep.
And
my wife's getting it.
The show at the same time. So that's carryintexas.com.
All right. Well, once again, we got about 30 seconds. Any final thoughts there, Conrad?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to you guys first for having me on the show, and thanks for everyone for watching and for supporting our film. And let's go take care of our first responders.
Yes,
absolutely.
Let's heal our heroes. And until next week, man, stay blessed, stay safe, stay COVID free, and hopefully we'll get out of this pandemic soon, and we'll be able to get on with our lives as normal as possible. Sam, once again, always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
And let's keep the good fight going.
And remember, it's okay not to be okay. Just don't stay there.
That's right. All right. Until next week, take care.